recording here. So we are recording right now, and first things first, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and go over the least exciting part of the day. You know what I'm talking about, isn't it? So very quickly, let's go over the very important disclaimer here, so then we can begin and follow our normal routine. Disclaimer: the following videos, clips, demonstrations are for educational purposes, for educational and instructional purposes only. Traditive provide these videos purely for the purpose of demonstrating a method of using the product. Users understand that all the content used in this video is purely for demonstration purposes only and is not a guide and does not provide any indication or prediction of actual results. As a user, you understand and agree that hypothetical results obtained through the demonstration do not indicate in any way the results you may receive on using our products. Little bit of legality here. We are done with the legality, so let's go ahead and jump into the charts and begin our session today. We have a few things to do in today's session, but before I start, I need you guys to confirm that you see my TradeStation screen. Could you please, with a quick yes on the chat box, confirm that you see? Yes, wonderful. Very nice, perfect, good. So we're ready to get started, and again, today's to go over the functionality, the way on how to utilize the app AutoUFOs, and see different ways on how to adjust, understand the technology behind it, and make ourselves more efficient and more consistent, and a better user of the tool, if you wish. Which obviously should translate as well in better experiences in the marketplace and better results. So today is our second session, as I was saying. And basically what I would like to do today is to address questions that I received in emails since the last week where we did our first session, because some of the questions were difficult to answer in a written form. It would have been a very lengthy email, or also because the question was so good that instead of responding in a written form to the person who sent the question, I think it's worth it to actually address it in the group, because it's going to be eye-opener for you to understand better the functionality of the tool, use it, and how to adjust it more efficiently. Okay, so that would be my initial intention today. And as we go over multiple sessions all together, and as we keep receiving more and more of your feedback, obviously we're gonna generate more and more structure into the sessions that we do, moving the direction of the sessions into whatever needs you guys may have. Okay, but at the moment we're talking technology here. We are talking on-field orders, we're talking UFOs, we are talking flying saucers, all those things that we have in our screen. And let's go ahead and let's talk about the first question here, which has to do with crude. I have the chart of crude oil on my screen, so I can address the first question I received. Okay, so let me stop screen sharing here. Let me find the question. The question is right here. I have it, and now that way I can restart the screen sharing. So now I can share with you guys the question itself. Let's see. So here is the screen. I would like to share. Okay, so you can see I myself am, still learning about the technology that we're using here. Okay, interesting. It's not allowing me to share the question. Okay, okay. Little technology issue here. Let me try to do this. Let me try to do this. Yeah, guys, when it comes to cameras and microphones, on the bottom left of the screen, you have these icons, which is the camera icon and the microphone icon. So if they are red colors, it means that your video is muted and your microphone too. That would be ideal. Everybody, please make sure that you have those two icons in the bottom left to be muted, meaning red color. So that way we don't have any distraction while we are doing the session together. Okay, so interesting, guys. I just need 1 second here, because I have a screenshot of the email I was planning to share with you, but for whatever reason is not allowing me to share it. So I may have to change the application. Just 1 second. 1 sec here, guys. Okay. Hopefully this should do it. Okay, sorry guys for this, but I believe that we should be fine now to do the sharing. Interesting. Okay, so let me see if this way is gonna work. Could you guys please confirm that you see a screenshot on your screen? You don't see it. Okay, got it. So look, I'm gonna have to explain it, because unfortunately I could not understand why this is happening at this moment in time. And what I'm gonna do then is just to explain it. It would have been better for me to share the email, because it would have been more, having you receive the direct message from the user of the app. But still we can do it. So guys, please confirm to me that you see my trade station. Okay, you got the chart. Very good, wonderful, perfect. So let me explain the question I received. Okay, so I'm looking at a weekly time frame of crude oil here. And in this weekly time frame of crude oil, the trader who sent the question had identified this area of price, okay, this area of price as potentially an area where we could have found unfilled orders. Okay, this area here, but as you can see, when we apply the auto UFOs to this chart, we end up with green UFOs below and red UFOs above. But the one that is highlighted with the yellow box I just applied to the chart, that one is not showing up. So the question from the user was, how come that one is not showing up? And is it a bug? Is there any reason why it's not showing up? And there is a reason. Actually, it's a very, very powerful reason, and that's why I would like to spend a little bit of time explaining this, because it's gonna be eye opener for you guys. Okay, so now obviously, if we look at it now, I'm gonna have to go back in time a little bit, because if I redraw the zone here, you can see that crude oil went into that area where the user of the app was expecting unfilled orders, but actually the price went through. And obviously, if there were any unfilled orders, well, definitely now they are gone, because price went through. So in order for me to be able to kind of simulate this in a way that is a little more precise, so maybe I'm just going to go back in time, let's say beginning of September. So let's go back in time to the week of September 7, okay, where at that moment in time, in the weekly time frame, you could, it would not be unreasonable that you could have expected that maybe there were plenty of unfilled orders here, and maybe you were planning to do some sort of a trade. But again, the question is, why is it that Auto UFOs was not identifying this area? And really, it's not like Auto UFOs was not identifying it. It was identifying it, but what Auto UFOs was doing is it was identifying that region of price as a region of price with low probability of working well. If you attended the session that we did together last week, you probably remember that the lighter the zone, the less the probability or the less the concentration of unfilled orders waiting to get filled. The darker the zone, the higher the probability, or the higher the potential concentration of unfilled orders still waiting to get filled. Now, when you have no zone, it's when it's really really light, meaning that there are no unfilled orders or very very little. And one way to be able to understand that better is if you get into the inputs of the indicator and you were to locate hide hit UFOs, and here it says true, you were to type false. Well, notice how auto UFOs had identified that particular region of price. It was identified, but notice how light of a color it is, meaning that the probability is very little. Okay, and here's why. If you dive deep into this region of price, which is the one here. Okay, that's the one we're talking about. Really, what the algo is identifying is a concentration of unfilled orders at that moment in time. But if you notice, when this market came from here down to here, many of those unfilled orders got filled, and the desired result was produced when price moved in the opposite direction. But notice as well how deep inside that green UFO price traded, and therefore the algo is assuming that many of these unfilled orders that were waiting to get filled, they probably got filled, and therefore the probability of that zone is quite low. That is why it's not showing it unless you have the setting of hide hit UFOs as false. In other words, if you have this setting as true, you are hiding the UFOs that have been hit, let's call it deeply, where the majority of the unfilled orders have been filled, and therefore you have very little unfilled orders left behind. And when you type it as true and you click OK, well, then notice how those zones go away from your chart, because yeah, you may have a little bit of unfilled orders there, but nothing magic. So I could understand if you are a trader who has been looking at order flow on the charts for a while, that maybe your eyes, are attracted to this region of price. But based on what I just said, the algo is identifying it as a low probability, at least in this time frame. A different story could be that now you look at this area, right, and you now want to dig a little deeper, not to find a long-term trade out of the weekly time frame, maybe to find an opportunity to catch a small bounce in a lower time frame. And maybe if you drop down to daily, or maybe even if you were to drop down to 60 minutes, 240 minutes, things like that. Well, yeah, notice that now you have zones where the algo is, now it's actually plotting those zones, which means that now in this time frame you may have a little bit of a higher probability for, of course, a smaller bounce because it's a smaller time frame, but you have a little bit of a higher probability in this time frame. Still, notice how the three green UFOs that we have in that price area are light color. And what does that mean? Well, it means that the concentration of orders that are still waiting to get filled is likely to be small. So again, eh, you know, being attracted, having your eyes attracted to this region, it's certainly not a crazy thing. It actually makes sense. But if you were to look at, the ultimate reaction to any of those, I'm just going to move forward in time to current date. Well, notice that, price kind of like went through this, like this is not even there. But then the next one that was dark green. So let me go back in time again to September 7. In September 7, that one below, okay, that one, the 5264, that one was dark green, which is telling you that, based on the algo, the probability of a greater concentration of unfilled order is higher because it's dark. So notice how now it went to the 5264, and this is from where it's bouncing. Now, of course, now it became lighter green. Why? Because the bounce has consumed some of the orders. So if this market was to come back to this green UFO, I mean, we still may catch a second bounce out of it, but definitely is not as high probability as in the first time. Okay, so this was a very, very good question that I received, and I wanted to address it with you because it's really key. When observing a price chart, and that's the beauty of using technology. Um, when observing a price chart, there are so many details that many times we escape the human eye, that using technology to do a little bit of this type of analysis behind the scenes kind of guarantees that you're not going to miss those details, because the computer doesn't miss those details as long as the algo is programmed properly, because a computer doesn't have much intelligence compared to a human being, but certainly processes a method impeccably, and much more consistently compared to a human being. Human being, we are all traders, and I'm sure you will agree with me that many times we develop preferences, or maybe you saw a trade last week, and the trade generated a bounce or a breakout out of a zone on the chart that had particular look and feel, and because you saw it last week and it was very impressive, for the rest of your life now you're kind of biased to look for that kind of pattern, that kind of setup. And maybe the reason why that trade worked well last week is because of another you know um, something else happening in the marketplace, and that was the real reason why that trade worked so well. But as a human, as a trader, being a human being, you would maybe create this memory in the subconscious mind, where now every time you see that pattern or that setup, you are very attracted to it and you don't know why, and maybe you take the trade, and maybe it was not so high probability. um, the beauty of using technology is that those details will never be missed, if you wish, because the computer doesn't have preferences. The computer is simply processing a process. Okay, so anyway, let me look at the chat box, because I'm not sure if you guys were typing when I was showing you all of this. um, London traders. Okay, I think that the microphone is good. Orlando, agree totally. Brian, how has this improved your trading, Jose? Massively, Brian, because it doesn't matter who you are as a trader. You may have been trading for 10 days, for 10 weeks, for 10 months, for 10 years. In the end, we are human. And if you were with us last week, when I said bye, when we concluded the session, basically I was using a little bit of humor. I'm not sure it was very good humor or not so good humor, but I was saying goodbye by calling you guys, my alien trader friends. And I was kind of making the point that you will become a better trader if you are less human. If instead of trading like a human, you trade like a robot, you trade like an alien. Again, just a little bit of bad humor here, playing with the words, which I love. But the fact is that it's so true, because you move away from the greatest weakness a trader has, which is the fact that we have a human brain, and I am limited on explaining that because I'm not a psychologist, but we have this subconscious mind that many times play games to us, and we are not even aware that those games are being played, because all of this happens in the subconscious mind. So the beauty of technology is that you get rid of a lot of those things, because computer doesn't think, computer has no emotions. So that's my long answer to you, Brian. London Trader, this is brilliant stuff. This was never explained to us properly in the past. Well, because it's really kind of like impossible to do it manually. I mean, impossible maybe is too strong as a word. You could certainly do it, but the probability of making mistakes by applying this process is so high, because there's so many details. There are so many wicks in a chart, so many candle bodies, so many candle wicks, that just not missing one of those details is almost an impossibility, right? So the beauty of technology is, again, the computer doesn't miss any of those details, because that's what computers do well. Just follow a process. Brian, are you a set and forget or more confirmation entry? Uh, Personally, I like to just set my trades and that's it. Good. So that was one of the questions I had received. And guys, before I go for the next one, yeah, technology is indeed beautiful. I love it. London trader as well. You know, my life before being a trader was actually technology. So combining technology and trading always put a smile on my face. Orlando, Jose, sometimes there are UFOs below or above. Um, when you say UFOs, you mean the inner circle maybe slightly displaced and maybe shows a little bit like that or something like that? This is what you mean? Is that what you meant, Orlando? Let me show you the screen again. Uh, oh, there are no UFOs at all. Okay, yeah, this happens. This happens when a market has been moving in a particular direction for a very long time. I remember that we did discuss that in the prior session last week. If a market is been moving for a very long time in a particular direction, you may, for example, just falling down, falling down, falling down, falling down. I mean, if I was to look at the let's say 60-minute time frame of crude oil. Okay, and it's going to load here in a second. And here in this case, we have a green UFO that just formed. But if you were to ignore that green UFO that just formed, notice that I'm zooming out all the way and I have no green UFOs. Why? Because this market has been dropping and dropping and dropping for such a long time that basically the only way to get more UFOs is that you need to load more bars in the chart. So you need to load more data so you get more stuff from the left. That's the reason. Okay. Remember, you know, the beauty of using technology is that it allows us to think less. And think less is good because not only it saves you time and it makes your life easier. And you know, last week I was using this analogy where I was comparing tools like AutoUFOs with a GPS, which is, if you ever use a GPS, well, you know, you better learn how to use a map manually first. But the moment you know how to read a map manually, you know, I think that we all appreciate the use of the amazing technology that satellites provide for us. So now we can navigate to places you've never been before with no time, and they bring you to the right place. So it's very convenient. So the idea of your auto UFOs is kind of the same. And now, what's the problem? When you are using a GPS, and I'm sure that we have all done that sometime in our life. When you use a GPS and then you suddenly you disagree with the GPS and you're like, you know what? I'm sure the GPS is wrong. I'm super positive. I know that the right way to go is this way, and now you get this way, and the reason why the GPS was bringing you the other way is because, you know, maybe there was a shortcut, or maybe there was an accident and crazy traffic, and if you had followed the GPS, you would be in a better position. But sometimes, you know, we have this human tendency to kind of like, well, I know where I'm going. I know it better than the GPS, right? So, you know, that's normally a mistake. Okay, that's have you anyone has ever been in that situation before? By the way, so you know that happens all the time, right? So when you are using a tool that is going to automate certain decisions, you gotta rely on the tool, because if not, then why are you using the tool in the first place? Is that making sense? If auto UFOs is not giving you UFOs on the screen, is because there are none. And the reason why there are none is either because you have not enough data loaded on the chart, or because the parameters that you are using, like for example, maybe you're using, I don't know, 0.85, or you're using some extreme parameter, and you know, with some extreme parameter you may have very few UFOs, and maybe today you have none, or the next UFO is very far from current price. So, you know, again, don't reinvent the wheel. If you decided to use a tool like auto UFOs in your trading activity, it's because you want to add a consistency in your decision process. If you were to now disagree with the auto UFOs and you were to give more importance to your way, then you are adding randomness into your decision process, unless you have rules around when you choose to disagree with the tool. Is that making sense? But again, even if you have rules around, normally technology will apply rules better than humans. So my recommendation to you guys would be to keep it very simple. So now your question, Orlando, is very good when you said, so is the algo telling us to not to go long? Well, think about it. If crude oil in the 60-minute time frame gives you no green UFOs and every single UFO you are given is red, it's because you're in a downtrend. Now, you know, in a theory world, what is the highest probability trade in a downtrend? Well, probably shorting. Uh, Now it depends. It depends on, do you have a green UFO in a higher time frame, right? That would depend as well. Do you have profit margin? Where is the next UFO? Is the next UFO very close or very far? So there are multiple other things to be discussed in the scenario. But as a rule of thumb, just to keep it very simple, in this case, I will say that the tool is telling you that probably you don't want to fight it, right? Unless if you choose to take a trade in the opposite direction of the trend, because you are betting on a trend reversal and the trend is going to change direction and move in the opposite direction, which this happens because crude oil is hitting a higher time frame demand zone, like the daily demand zone that we saw earlier. Well, if you were to plan on taking this trade, well, you do it because you're using a higher time frame, right? And if you're using a higher time frame, well, now you will see green UFOs. So again, just have rules around whatever you do, right? You could be a trader who decides to trade in the direction of the trend. You could be a trader who decides to not to go against the trend. You could be a trader who doesn't care about the trend and you only look for high quality turning points with a decent amount of room for price to move, so you can have 2-to-1s, 3-to-1s, 5-to-1s, whatever your rules are when it comes to the minimum profit you would accept. So you could be any type of trader, and there is not really anything right or wrong. What matters is that you follow rules with discipline. That's what matters the most. And of course, you want your rules to provide you with an enhanced probability, so you have an edge. If your rules were to provide lack of probability, but now you are consistent because you have rules, but you are consistent getting losses. You want rules that gives you an edge, but then you want to be consistent applying those rules. And you don't want to move things around until the UFO show you what you wanted to see, because then again, you're kind of faking it. Maybe you are a trader who decided to trade the 60-minute time frame, but today, because you have no green UFOs in the 60-minute time frame, ignoring the last one that was formed, just I think it was a different time frame, a few minutes ago, a few hours ago. So if you were to ignore this one that was here before, the decision you have to take is quite simple. You are not going long. Why? Because you don't have a green UFO. It's that simple, right? So don't force it. Don't, if your GPS tells you turn right, don't say, okay, I'm going to turn left and see what happens, because probably you get lost. In trading, probably you get a loss. Okay, so just follow the rules. That's all. London trader, I realized after a long while, too long, that you have to remove the weak human emotions from the equation when trading. This is key. This is key, and that was one of my inspirations when building this tool, guys. Again, it's great to do things manually. I am a perfectionist myself. I love to do things manually, and I am proud of what I do manually. But here's the catch: when you do something manually, because it's what you have done yourself, because it's manual, now you are emotionally attached with it. Why? Because you have done it yourself. So if I draw a circle or a line or a square on my chart, and that has a meaning to me, and I am the person who has drawn it, well, now what happens? Well, now I am emotionally attached, and I'm going to find excuses to take the trade. Why? Because I'm the one who has drawn that circle. I'm the one who has drawn that box. So again, manually is good, especially in early stages of learning. Back to my analogy with reading a map, but the moment you know how to read a map, technology, and in this case GPSs or auto UFOs in this case, is going to make you more efficient and remove the human element. Okay. Yeah. Juan Carlos, Do you use fibs as analysis enhancers? Could you give an example to see if it may align with UFOs? Absolutely, absolutely. So now, um, very, very, very good question. Okay, and I still have another question I need to answer, but I will come back to the other question later. Let's talk about this question from Juan Carlos, because it's a perfect question to ask with the chart I have in front of me. Because notice the chart I have in front of me. How many green UFOs we have in this chart, guys? Is it like one or two, or is it many, many, many? Right. So I mean, sometimes markets, as Orlando suggested earlier, will give you no or very few UFOs. Sometimes a market will give you so many. Okay, and again, the tool is just applying a process and identifying those and just plotting them for you. Sometimes there will be more, sometimes there will be less. The big banks, the big players, those are the ones producing market movements and injecting orders in the marketplace. So sometimes they will inject many orders, sometimes they will inject less orders, and therefore, some markets will have more UFOs than others, and this changes through time, by the way. So what would you do in a case like this where you have so many, right? And it's like, okay, so I got all those UFOs, it's great. I saved a lot of time. I didn't have to do any of this manually. That's great. Some of them are darker, which are supposed to be more probability, higher probability. Some of them are lighter, which probably are less probability. But what should I do? Should I take them all? Well, it would not be wrong to trade them all. In one hand, it would not be wrong, but forget about trading. Think about risk management. What if this market was to do the exact opposite that has been happening to crude oil, that has been just falling and falling and falling? What if this market now initiates a movement, a very strong movement to the upside, and keeps going higher and higher and higher? And let's say those big players that injected those on-field orders to sell, what if they take them out of the market? So what's going to happen? Many of those red UFOs could fail, and this could happen in a row. So what would happen to you as a trader if you took them all? You may get 5 losses in a row until you get your first profit. And in one hand, you are doing something that for trading purposes may make sense, but in the other hand, from a risk management point of view, it makes no sense at all, because now you are really hurting your account. So sometimes we need to be a little more selective and pick, out of all those UFOs, have extra rules on top of the rules already built in the algo for you to pick. Okay, so one basic one would be, okay, ignore the light and just trade the dark. That could be one way to do it. Another way to do it would be like, okay, look, when I got UFOs that are so close to each other, I'll treat them like it's one, and those two together you treat it like it's one. That would eliminate some of the zones, and therefore have you trade a little less often. But another way, and now I'm back to you, Juan Carlos. Another way could be the use of fibs. Okay, Fibonacci retracement lines. Like many other tools coming from the world of technical analysis or any other schools of thought, those tools are not tools that measure on-field orders. But what they measure, though, is some degree of probability of new orders to be added in the market that have not been added yet. So let me explain that. For example, um, let's look at this in a little bit of a higher time frame. So I'm going to look at the daily time frame here for crude oil, and I think that in the daily time frame we all recognize, especially if I was to turn off my flying saucer here, I think we all recognize there is a top wick here, a pretty obvious top wick. So if I go back to the 60-minute time frame and I was to use that top wick as the initial place for me to draw a collection of fibs with my fib tool, I could click in the beginning, go all the way to the end. So I could do that. Okay. So now I'm going to remove the yellow circle. The only reason why I use the yellow circle is to identify a very obvious, significant turning point to draw the beginning part of my fib to the ending part of the fib. And now I'm going to add the ratios that you decide. Okay, I'm just gonna add the classical ones: 23, 38, 50, and 60, and 61.8. So now that you have these, okay, now you could say, okay, I'm gonna turn on my UFOs again. Okay, and if you notice, actually I got no fib lining up with any of the UFOs. So in this case, in a case like this, um, fibs are not helping us. So maybe then, instead of looking at the daily time frame I was looking, and this, by the way, happens because crude oil has really been dropping hard. So maybe now you will want to go for the weekly time frame, and now you're gonna do the same thing. Looking at the weekly time frame, look for one of the obvious turning points, which obviously has been all the way there on the top, right there. Okay, let me move it like this. Okay, here we go. That's better. So what would you do now? Well, you would now grab those lines and extend them all the way to the beginning of that move. And of course, now this is spreading those fibs in different locations, right? So what will you do now? Well, now you come back to the 60-minute time frame. Okay, you reapply your UFOs, and now notice that, for example, the 23 is kind of like in the middle of nowhere. The 38 is in a location that does coincide with some UFOs. So automatically, those UFOs now, to me, and again, this is just a suggestion to get you thinking about the use of the tool. And of course, you need to add rules around that. But this particular location on the chart with the magenta color now becomes more relevant. Why? Because not only you have on-field orders that were identified by the AutoUFO app, but on top of that, you also have potential for new orders to be injected in the marketplace that have not been injected yet. Why they have not been injected yet? Because no one knew when that UFO was formed, which was at this moment in time. Okay, that was here we go. So that was 11/8 at 10 a.m., right? So when that UFO was formed on 11/8, okay, which is like a little more than 10 days ago, when that UFO was formed, no one knew that crude oil would go all the way and hit that low. No one knew that was going to happen. And because no one knew that was going to happen, then no one knew the 38% retracement line would be lining up with that UFO. You could not know that at that time. So at that time, what you knew is that you had on-field orders located between 61, 62, more or less. Okay, you had on-field orders. But what we now know, because we have this low, is that if crude oil goes back up to where the 38.2 is that not only those on-field orders may get filled and produce a high probability trade for you to execute. On top of that, because you got many FIB traders, including computers, that are executing trades based on those numbers automatically. So we may have an enhanced probability of success because we may have a new flow of orders that were not in the market yet to be injected around 61.99 because it happens to be a 38.2 Fibonacci retracement, okay, which again, you could not have predicted that until this low has been formed. So, now you could become very interested in using those UFOs and therefore ignore the ones below. You could become even more interested to trade that one, the 50. Okay, that one even more interested. Okay, anyone would like to phrase it on the chat box? Why I said maybe it's more interesting to the 50 than the 38.2. Anyone would like to? Anyone is anticipating what I'm thinking? I would like to phrase it on the chat box. It's dark. Here we go. Very good. You got it. Because that one is dark, where that one is light. Is that making sense? That one is dark and that one is light. So the 50 potentially, again, we are traders, so we talk about probabilities. It doesn't mean we are right every single trade, but potentially you have a higher probability with the 50 than the 38. So, Juan Carlos, coming back to your question, that's a pretty long answer, but nice conversation, I believe. Um, Coming back to your question, in this chart, you would basically ignore everything, but that UFO around 65 and that UFO, and because they are so close, maybe you would kind of put them together and trade them like it's one, right? Between 61 something and 62 something, right? So those two, and everything else on the chart you would just ignore it. Okay, and that could be your trading style. Are you gonna miss opportunities if you do that? Yes. Are you gonna increase your odds? Well, probably yes too, isn't it? Because now not only you have the unfilled orders that are already in the marketplace waiting to get filled, but on top of that, you have a potential for new orders to be injected, right? So now you have more odds. Okay. So let me go back to Juan Carlos was here. Very good, Juan Carlos. So I believe I gave you the answer. If you have any additional question, please make sure you type it, so I'll read you in a minute. Robert, still need to define your rules. Absolutely. And what AutoUFOs does is to make it a little simpler for you to have rules. But you can overlay all sorts of rules. I mean, we are talking about FIBs now. You can talk about uh, moving averages. You can talk about fundamentals. You can talk about, you name it, chart patterns. You can talk about anything, really, anything. As long as it's a rule, then it's going to help you. If it's not a rule, then you're improvising. If you're improvising, it's random action, and random action normally equals random results unless you're lucky. And no one in this room is planning to rely on luck. We are all professional here, and therefore, we know what we need to do. Raj wants we are running. Could everybody confirm that you see the trust station chart? Yes, good, perfect. Thank you. So maybe you want to refresh your screen or log out and log back in. Here we go. So Orlando, how about from the previous pivot turning point on the daily or the 60-minute better? Again, it depends on your rule, Orlando. As I said a minute ago, we are not going to catch every single move in the market as a trader. So just have rules. If you have a set of rules that suggest that having taken that all trade using the daily time frame, which could make a lot of sense, okay, then you're in and it's a good trade. If you didn't have a rule to take the trade, well, then you are lucky and you're making a profit because you had a UFO. So it's not like you are entering the market blind and crossing your fingers. You have something that is helpful, but you should know when to enter and when to exit based on your rules. And what the UFOs are doing is just adding simplicity in your analysis and even more rules with the color coding and all those things that we have been discussing. London Trader, the reason being you would use the fibs on the weekly chart. Institutions have the most powerful computers in the planet Earth, running all sorts of strategies in all sorts of time frames, definitely including the weeklies and also including the 1 minute and the 5 minute and the 10 minute and the 20 minute and all time frames. So, and the beauty of fibs on top of that, and I'm kind of diverting from UFOs here, but the beauty of fibs is that turning point that we saw on the weekly, you also see it on the daily, right? But you also see it on the 4-hour time frame, and you also see it on the 60-minute time frame. So in the end, some of those Fibonacci lines, no matter the time frame that you use, in the end, many people around the world, they may end up with the same ratios because those obvious inverted V-shaped formations or V-shaped formations. This is something that everybody sees. Okay, no matter the time frame. Yeah. So London trade, you can see some rules building. Exactly. That's, and you know what? Something that we can do as well. I think that would be really cool is that as you guys are building rules around your auto UFOs, maybe we should do sessions where you guys share your rules and we can discuss all together. Is that making sense? I think that would be a very nice thing to be done as well. Okay. Juan Carlos, would you consider a 68.3 zone due to 61 being near level? Well, here's the problem, Juan Carlos, and I have erased the fibs, but I remember when I had them before, so I get your point. So there was the 61.8 that was in the white area of the chart, and then you had the UFO right above, and it was not lining up. It was close, but it was not lining up. And notice what close means. Well, close means subjectivity. What is close? Is it 5 ticks? Is it 20 ticks? So now we're adding subjectivity. So again, just keep it simple. It's the key is the UFO, meaning that if you don't have on-field orders, nothing's going to happen. So the fibs are just pointing at which auto UFO. If you're going to trade when the fibs are in the middle of nowhere, that means that you are now giving more weight to the fib that the on-field orders in the market. Is that making sense? On top of that, you have now a little bit of subjectivity because you kind of you you are bending the rules a little bit. So you're giving yourself permission to take a trade that based on the rules you will not be given the permission. Is that making sense? So that's when the discipline comes into place. Okay, we gotta be disciplined. We gotta be professional. And you know what? If crude oil doesn't give you a trade, look at natural gas. If natural gas doesn't give you a trade, look at the euro futures. If the euro future doesn't give you a trade, look at the Nasdaq. And you know, let's not bend the rules, okay? Because in the end, it's gonna produce consequences that will not be the desired ones. Okay. Kong NGO, Bollinger Bands. You could certainly use Bollinger Bands as well. You guys are aware, I believe, and if not, it would be worth it for you to check. We have some social media pages with examples of trades, that are all sort of trades combined with auto UFOs, long term, short term, with indicators, without indicators, with fundamentals, without fundamentals, all with fibs, without fibs, with moving averages, with Bollinger Bands, without Bollinger Bands, all sort of things. So let me type it in the chat box just in case you haven't not seen it, because again, that could be very eye opener for you guys. I would even call it a homework, a little bit of review and homework for you guys. So I just typed it in the chat box. If you go for www.facebook.com/tradewithufos, and you don't need to be a Facebook user. You can still see it even if you don't use Facebook. If you use Facebook, you can actually interact and comment and stuff. So it's even better. But you don't need to be a Facebook user to be able to see it. And you will see many examples of different things. And there are multiple examples with Bollinger Bands too. So um, let's play with the bands. Okay. So let me insert analysis technique and go for Bollinger Bands, right? And now I have bands on my screen. Let me make the bands a little thicker. Okay, let me make the bands a little thicker. And the average as well. So that should be a little better on the chart. Yes, I think that's a little better. So now, how can you use this? You can use this in many ways. Now we are talking Bollinger Bands, which is not the purpose for this session, even though, it's all related. So why not? But Bollinger Bands could be used to trade mean reversion. Bollinger Bands could be traded to trade trending markets, and use the bands to take profits. So you could use Bollinger Bands in many ways. But for example, if you were to plan on a mean reversion, what did we just have here? Well, it's pretty nice, convenient situation where, if I really zoom in, you can see that we pierced the band and we entered the green UFO. So you could have selected this trade, planning on this thing now to go back towards the mean and hit the mean line, and use that as your target. So you could certainly do that. Okay. It's probably not going to get there because you have this red UFO here. So probably good idea to take partial profits here, I would say. And also as time passes and new candles form, this moving average will start going down, down, down. So mean reversion doesn't mean you're going to get that high, but you're going to get to some sort of a mean. Okay. So maybe you're using Bollinger Bands combined with UFOs and you're doing mean reversion. What's the beauty of doing that? You have rules. It's either it pierces the band or it doesn't pierce the band. It's black or white. There is nothing to think about. So if it pierces, it gives you permission to enter as long as you have a UFO. If it doesn't pierce, then you may have a UFO, but you just ignore it because you are not meeting both of your roles if you had those two roles, which is take the trade when it pierces the band and you have a UFO, right? So again, just ideas for you to think about, guys. And I believe probably Kong and you were thinking about that yourself, and feel free to comment. Um, Orlando, can you tell us how we can use UFO in conjunction with a breakout trade approach? Yeah. So, for example, let me change market if that's okay, because we have been working with the crude oil all the time. I mean, nothing wrong with crude oil, but just to pick something, in 7 minutes, the US market is going to open. So let's take a look at the Nasdaq. Okay, I'm going to look at the Nasdaq in a 5-minute time frame, for example. Okay, so now, let's say you are a classical trader. You are using conventional technical analysis, and you have a line drawn here at this level that you call a resistance. Why? Because the market turned here and turned there and turned there. And so let's say this thing is going to break up this line, which could be a support or resistance, or it could be a trend line, or it could be anything. But let's say that your plan is to do a breakout trade if this market goes above the line. Well, given the fact that you have the red UFO so close, I mean, let me ask you this question. Would you guys say it's a good idea to take the trade, or that's going to end up with a very small profit? You may be right, but is your profit going to be a very big profit, or when it's going to hit the red UFO is going to fall down again, right? So how would you feel about that? Would you feel it's a good idea to take this breakout to the upside? Bad idea, right? Yeah, there is no room for price to move, right? Let me see if we found a different setup. So what if we look at let's say the Euro futures? So we look at the Euro futures, 5-minute time frame. Let's see what we have. Yeah, well, we got plenty of UFOs on top of each other, so too much color and very little white. So that means no room for price to move. Let's look at what else can we look at? For example, the YM, the Dow Jones futures. So here, for example, yeah, a very similar setup. Yeah. What else? Let's look at the yen. So looking at the yen futures. Yeah, we're kind of the same. And just looking for a market that may give us the opportunity to have some room to go. What about gold? Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look at gold. So gold, let's load. Okay, let's move to the 10-minute time frame. Okay, good. So for example, with gold in the 10-minute time frame, what do we have here? Well, probably, many people would be interested and looking at this 1227 because is an obvious turning point here. Let's take a look on the left. On the left, it has been a turning point. It has been a turning point. It has been a turning point. So let's say, to keep it simple, that you are looking at this level as a high probability level, and this market goes through. and now you have this breakout opportunity. So, do you guys notice now the rival red UFO is far away, right? So what does that mean? Well, now you do have you do have room for price to travel before it turns, right? So you may have an authentic breakout here, and this thing keeps moving intensively. Is that making sense? So, this is when you would probably allow yourself to take the breakout instead of, not, passing on it. Okay. Um, okay, if you get a chance, how do you make UFO box appear in your toolbar on the top? And how do you make the UFO box appear on the toolbar on the top? Oh, you mean here, that button here with enable disable? This is just the TradeStation button for activation or deactivation of indicators. So if you don't have it, you can go to view toolbars, and you can customize the toolbar so you can add this button to any toolbar, and then from there you can activate and deactivate the flying saucers. Good one. Um, if the zone disappears while you are in the trade, do you look to get out faster? We talked about that last week, Juan Carlos. Again, it depends on your personality as a trader. What we concluded last week is that it means that too many orders has been filled, so the zone you were relying on is less reliable now. So one action you could take is to move stop to break even. Okay, move the stop to break even and protect the trade very aggressively, because now you have less probability. Okay, that's one thing you could do. But again, you need to have rules around that. Um, London, do these levels work with currency cross pairs? Yeah, absolutely. Same story. And the beauty, London Trail, remember, is that if you ever have a question about, hey, I'm not sure if this market is going to work well for me or not, well, just activate the stats, right? So if you look at, stats true, so now 66% of the trades work with the gold. What if you do it with the euro? Well, with the euro, um, 1, 2, 3 is coming, waiting for data. Okay. Well, I guess it's taking more time than expected. Let me see. Okay, now it's coming. So 10 minutes, here we go. So with the euro, it was 68. And now you tell me, okay, I know the euro, I know gold. What about the euro Aussie dollar that I never traded before? Let's say you never traded euro Aussie dollar. This is a cross pair. So you just input, right, the euro Aussie dollar. You just need to wait for the data to be loaded on my chart. And here we go, and now it's giving you 70%. So now you know what to expect. Again, last week as well, we went over a process on how you can look back in time and see the variability of that figure as you move through time. And if you see the variability of this figure is little, and you get those statistics, quite constant. So what is this telling you? Well, it's telling you that you are definitely welcome to trade that new market that you never traded and you didn't know what to expect. Well, now you know what to expect. Okay, cool. Um, Brian, is there a scan we can run to show when Market approaching? Um, we could certainly build a tool like that. It would take no time to build a tool like that. So we could certainly, in future sessions, we'll get more and more organized in those sessions. Right now, we are conducting these sessions in a very easygoing manner, if you wish. Basically just replying to your questions is kind of like Q&A and getting you to understand the tool and how to use it and things like that. But we can get more and more organized, and we can do sessions where maybe you guys want to share your rules, and we can talk about it and understand if it makes sense or it doesn't, or how to make it even better. We can do sessions where you may want to share suggestions of tools that you would like to have, and we can build those tools. Okay, so no, not a problem at all. That would be great. Yeah. So I'm just reading. Yeah, very good. Juan Carlos, no problem, my friend. It's good to see you. Good. So, guys, we yeah. Such about rules, isn't it? It's all about rules. So I have one more question I need to answer before we go. Okay. The market just stopped, and so we're gonna conclude our sessions quickly. So we'll go back to trading. But before we do that, there is one question I haven't replied that was sent to me in an email, and the question was that when you are looking at the daily time frame, as you can see, my UFOs are lining up perfectly where they should be, but by default, TradeStation has a very weird setting that comes by default, and if you don't change that setting, then you may not have on the daily time frame. This is only for the daily time frame, but your UFOs may not show properly. So let me show you that setting. Let me start sharing for a minute. Let me move to sharing the website. So could you please confirm, guys, that you see the Trade with UFOs website? Everybody sees the Trade with UFO website? Could you confirm that? Thank you so much. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to click on guide. And I know this is, we are all a little lazy to look at the guide and the manuals. And, that's why, if you don't like manuals, okay, even though we give you an option, if you love reading manuals, okay, which I would guess most people don't. So if you don't like reading manuals, below you have the manuals in video format. Okay, so you have all the manuals here for you to watch. Okay, and how to calibrate, ready and access to use the app. So this is the video you want to watch to fix the problem I'm about to explain. Okay, so you can watch this video ready to access and use the app, or if you were to download the manual, so you just click download. We have the manual here, and I'm just gonna move to page 5. Okay, so this is the user guide. I'm just gonna go to page 5, where here in page 5, it talks about how to make sure your TradeStation is ready for the app. Okay, and one of the things it says, which is to be performed on the first use of this indicator. So you do that once every time you install TradeStation in a new computer. That's only for the first use. Okay, so you need to go to View Chart Analysis Preference. Okay, so let me do it. View Chart Analysis Preference. You go to the symbol tab, and you want to make sure that those two options are unchecked. Okay, because by default, the daily is checked. So you want to make sure they are both unchecked. Take a look. If I go to View Chart Analysis Preference, oh, wait a minute, I need to share the right window. So let me go back to TradeStation. So everybody, could you please confirm to me that you are back to see TradeStation on your screen? Everybody could please confirm that you see TradeStation? Wonderful. Thank you, guys. So take a look. If I go to View Chart Analysis Preferences, you look at symbol, you see those two options on the top needs to be unchecked. By default, it's checked. Okay. So what happens? If it's checked, which is how it comes by default, well, you may notice that some of your, the beginning part of those rectangles, sometimes even the ending part, is not kind of like properly aligned. Okay, and it looks a little weird in some charts more than others. Take a look at Microsoft, for example. In some chart more than others, and again, this is only for the daily time frame. Okay, so sometimes it's not so neat anymore. Okay, and so how do you fix that? Well, simple. You just go to View Chart Analysis Preference. You just make sure it's unchecked. You click OK, and now everything looks much better. And you don't need to worry about this again until you have a new computer and you reinstall TradeStation in that new computer, right? So again, page 5 of your user guide, and this is a question that some of you had, and I wanted to make sure I address it for you guys, before the end of today's session. Okay, but anyway, so I think that today's session, we kind of accomplished what at least I had in my mind. Again, the goal of those sessions is not to accomplish what I had in my mind. The goal of the session is to accomplish things that are useful to you guys. Of course, we need to start with, if you wish, what I have in my mind, because today is the second session that we get together. But I am collecting your feedback that you guys are sending in emails, and I want to welcome you, and please don't even hesitate, and send me feedback about what you would like us to do in those get together sessions, and we'll start producing more and more structure and consistency around how we organize the session. I mean, I just told you that trading is all about having rules, so we're gonna have rules on how we're gonna be running those sessions, okay, guys? But I would like you guys to help us to by sharing with us, to help us understand better what you need, so we can help you better. Okay, so it's not only what we have on our mind, but it's actually what what you need. Okay, and last thing before we go is, because next week and the session is going to be a little different. So let me go back to sharing screen one more time. I'm going to go back to the website. So one more time, quick question in the chat box. Could you please confirm that you see our website again? Could you please confirm that you see our website? Perfect, wonderful. So quick one, take a look. I want to move from our website to Facebook, tradewithufos.com. And the reason why I'm going to do that, it's because there is a link. I would like, okay, I cannot do it right now. Okay, so let me do it. Let me do it this way. Just give me a second, guys. I'm just going to do it in a different way that is going to be more efficient. I'm just going to copy and paste it on the chat box, and that's it. So for next week, I was going to say that the session is going to be a little more special. And the reason why it's going to be a little more special is because the session is going to be co-hosted by us, obviously, the UFO guys, if you wish, but also together with TradeStation. So we're going to be doing a session that is going to be co-hosted. So for you to be able to attend, we're not going to be use this environment with the eyes on. We're going to use the TradeStation environment, which is called Omnovia. So I just pasted in the chat box the link for you guys to click on that link and to register. So that way we'll be connected with TradeStation, with the TradeStation guys as well, and we'll be doing, a similar session where we'll get all together, also with some of the TradeStation guys too. So it's going to be a great way to spend some time together as well, and talk about trading and the markets and the UFOs and the on-field orders and all those things that we love. Okay. And we'll do that next week, and then the week after we'll go back to normal, and that's gonna give us like 2 weeks of time to receive many of your suggestions, and I'll be communicating with all of you guys via email to give you more information about the date for next week. Well, for next week I can actually tell you already. It's going to be November 28th at 4:30 p.m. US Eastern time. Okay, so I'm just typing it here on the chat box. That one may be a little difficult for our users in Asia and Europe, and I myself will be in Asia, so it's going to be quite late. It's going to be like 5:30 in the morning for us in Asia, so it's going to be a little tough, but it's okay. And because it's going to be recorded, and then you can always access the recording. And then the week after, we'll go back to normal around market hours. Around market hours, we are all trading, isn't it? So it's going to be easier for all of us to connect. So next week on the 28th, together with TradeStation, the week after, we are back to be all together in our get-together sessions, and I'll be sending more information about the structure. And please send me feedback on what you guys need, so we can create a structure that actually fits you, and that way those sessions are very, very helpful for you all. Okay, guys. So I got one last thing to say before we go, guys, which is happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys, especially in the US. Major and very beautiful celebration tomorrow. So enjoy your time with your families, guys, and cherish this beautiful time. And happy Thanksgiving, guys. And in the meantime, we'll be delighted to receive your emails with suggestions. And you guys take care. See you soon. Okay. Thank you for coming today, guys. Makes me very, very happy to see your participation as well. So thank you, and please do not hesitate to participate and to send feedback. Okay, and following sessions as well, I plan for you guys to be using microphones and sharing screens and be much more dynamic instead of I'm the only guy talking in this session. Okay, so see you soon, guys, and happy Thanksgiving again. Bye bye, everyone.